Hi there, my name's Cathi Barker from Software Solutions, and you're looking at the first of a collection of videos that accompany my Mastering Microsoft Project course. The first thing I want to look at is the startup and the look of project before we get busy actually creating a project. Now, if you start Microsoft Project and you encounter the startup screen as I have, I actually find it a little bit annoying and I like to turn it off. I really want to go just straight into a blank project. So for this, I would say fire up project, find the options option in the bottom left corner. And when you do so, you'll be taken into here and you'll be taken into general. And what you can do is untick this option so that it doesn't show the start screen whenever the application starts. So I'm going to take this off, I'm going to go OK. And if I close out a project and then just bring project back up again, what you'll find is it goes straight into project. So that's a setting you might like to change. Now the other thing is the color of your project might look really quite different to mine. Mine's quite white at the top and yours may not be. You need to be aware that again, if you go into file and you go into options, that there are actually themes. They're called office themes. And yours is probably sitting on colorful and okay, which means that you've got a greenish tinge at the top and a grayish tinge here. And if you like that, that's fine, but I actually prefer a different color scheme, and you might want to have a look at what your options are as well. And when you know you've got options, you can change them. So I'm going to go back into file and options, and you can change it from colorful to dark gray, for example. And okay, some people like that. They find that looking at white is like looking at snow for a long period of time and it hurts their eyes. But myself, I just like white. So I'm going to go into file, I'm going to go into options and change my office theme to white. So be aware of your startup screen and be aware of your office theme. Now the other thing while we're in here is the default view. The default view is a Gantt chart, which is what you're seeing here, the Gantt chart, plus a timeline, which is what they call this thing at the top. We don't use timeline a lot, generally speaking, so I often like to change it that whenever I start project, it just starts with a Gantt chart. And if I want the timeline, I'll bring it up, but it's not there by default. So you can change the default view to just Gantt chart. I'm going to go OK. So I've gone back to a white theme. Now to just see the Gantt chart, again, dive out of project and then bring project back up again. It's got to sort of set those settings. And notice when I dived out and came back in again, I now don't have a timeline by default. And I also have white by default, and I don't get that startup screen. Okay, what else? Looking at your screen here, what we've got on the left-hand side is what they call a table. And if I was going to be really specific, this is called the entry table. If I take you to view, for example, you'll see there's an option there called tables, and you'll see the entry is ticked. So by default, we are viewing the entry table on the left-hand side, which is a good thing because we're going to enter tasks, start dates, finish dates, durations, things like that. So that's what you want. On the right hand side, you have your Gantt chart. Now your Gantt chart has got vertical grey bars. These are your non-working days. And we're going to look at in the videos how we customize this to suit your needs, whether you are doing just a 24-hour shut or whether you're doing a 15-year strategic plan or whether you're doing a 3-month build. We'll completely customize it. Okay, so anyway, that's your entry table on the left, that's your Gantt chart on the right. Now, where you see the word Gantt chart on the very, very left-hand side, you may not be aware that you can actually right-click that. If you right-click those two words, you can flick to different views other than Gantt chart. Not my choice of method of doing that, but you can. And what some people like to do is they like to turn on this option called the view bar. So if I click that, I now have a view bar running down the left-hand side of my screen, and I can use it to switch between different views in project. And Gantt chart's got a sort of an orangey hue at the moment, so that's the view we're in. Myself, I find that takes up too much real estate. Screen real estate when you're dealing with Microsoft Project is of a premium. So I actually don't like this method of flicking between different views, and I'll show you a better method. So I'm going to right click this view bar so you can see it's ticked there, and I'm going to untick it. Don't like it. That's sort of that side of the screen. Now, looking up towards the top here, this big panel across the top, if you don't know, this is called the ribbon. It's got ribbon tabs like task, resource, report, project, etc. So if you're asked to go to the project tab in the ribbon, that's what that means. Now, if I go back to task, for example, you can see there's a little green line under it. So that's how you know which ribbon tab you're in, the little green line. Now, what some people do is they get double click happy. And so if you are a person who loves double clicking, you're likely to lose your ribbon. And how we do that is if I double click task, the ribbon disappears. And turning the machine off and on, let me just show you that, exit out, go back in, doesn't resolve it. So if you lose your ribbon, turning the machine off and on or exiting project is not the answer. You need to double click task again, or resource, or report, any of these tabs to get your ribbon back. And you do need a double click. If I double click task and only click once, it's only a temporary showing of the ribbon. You can see a lot of the column headings are missing because it's a temporary showing. You have to double click it to get it back up and sitting up and permanent. This is true of all Microsoft programs, by the way. Okay, so that's your ribbon. Now the other thing is above the ribbon, we have what they call the quick access toolbar, and it's all in the name. This toolbar is supposed to give you quick access to stuff you use regularly. And so we regularly save, hence why there's a save button. We regularly undo. No matter how clever you get, you always need undo. As just a side tip, there are 20 levels of undo in project. You can up that to 99 if you need to. You can go back to file, you can go back to options, and if you go to advanced on the left hand side, you can increase the undo levels as I have to 99. I like having lots of undo levels because if I do something wrong, it's usually a beauty. So I've upped it from 20 to 99, and I suggest that maybe you do. Some would argue that that creates performance issues. Yeah, I haven't noticed that, so okay. Okay, so save, undo. Now what else can we add to the quick access toolbar? Click the customize quick access toolbar button. It's easy to see when you change your office theme to white, which is one of the arguments for me choosing white. So it's this button on the right hand side. 3 things are ticked, that's why 3 things are showing. Now, something that I think is really useful is save as. We are constantly saving our project as revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, etc. So turn on the save as button, give it a click, and now you've got a quick button that you can click whenever you want to save the file as a different name. And I'll just cancel that. That's much better than faffing around going file, save as, browse to get to the same location. One click and you're in save as. The other button I think is cool in here is email. Often people say to me, Kath, can you email me that project file? I'm like, sweet, yeah. So I just click that button and it immediately opens up, and I'll bring it into view. It immediately opens up a new email message with that project attached, and boom, I just send it to whomever it is requesting it. So I'll close that. So turn on save as, turn on email. Quick print, dangerous. Don't turn that one on. Otherwise, it's one copy straight to the printer and you didn't get an opportunity to say how you wanted to scale it or anything. Print preview, yeah, that's a good one. So I'm going to turn that one on so I can print preview and see what things look like. And one that I really like is the view. This is the button I would use instead of the view bar that hangs down the left-hand side. The view button is minimum real estate, nice and tiny, nice and compact, but punches when you want to switch to a different view. You hit this drop down and you can flick between different views in project, whether you're dealing with your resource sheet, whether you're actually dealing with your team planner, or whether you need to go back to your Gantt chart. So 100% turn on that view button. That's a must. So customize the quick access toolbar. That's the thing I want you to do. Ribbon, if you double click and lose it, double click, get it back. View bar, nah, keep that turned off. Right hand side, yep, that's your Gantt. Left hand side, that's your entry table. Under view and tables, keep it on entry for now, though we will look at different tables. There's a couple of buttons down here, for example, you can scale in. There's a plus to zoom in and a minus to zoom out. Not a fan, and you'll realize that as we start working with project, because now I can't get it back to how it was, so that's really annoying. You've got blank report, resource sheet, different views you can jump to. I don't really use them because I've got this view button which is packing more of a punch than these buttons here. So what you can do is you can right click and you can actually turn some of those things off. I actually turn off the zoom slider so I'm not tempted to use it. So I turn that off, and I'll show you more intelligent ways of actually increasing and decreasing your magnification, so you don't screw up your time scale up here. Okay, so you've got the ability to turn things off and on just by right clicking down below here. I think that pretty much is the screen. Okay, so follow through the videos. I do hope you enjoy them. Please like or subscribe just to give me some sort of indication as whether I'm hitting the mark and appealing to what people want to know. The videos are 18 steps. I've been using Project since it was first released, showing my age a little bit there, since version 1 of Project, and in a commercial sense. So I teach all sorts of commercial project managers from all sorts of different organizations, and so there's some real world experience in these videos. I break down creating a project plan into 18 steps, so you'll see that the videos are pretty much broken down into 18 steps. Do enjoy, and see you in the next video. Take care. Ka kite.